These are the top stories we're tracking. TNT expert Anthony Paul says Guyana should have say in all oil companies' spending. And President Ali wanted to influence police promotion list. Paul Slow, head of state, denies allegation. Popular media personality Mondale Smith succumbs to COVID-19 and over $1 billion in contracts inked for improved security and other works in Region 6. Meanwhile, Pomeroon reeling from severe flood water. Relief measures underway. Do stay tuned to stay informed.
Do you love going down memory lane? Then we
When the Stabroek Block deal was released in 2017, several international experts cringed upon noting the alarming loopholes the coalition government left unaddressed. International energy lawyer J.J. Park had said that Guyana is supposed to have a say in the approval of the budgets these oil companies draft. In agreement with him is Trinidadian expert Anthony Paul. Paul categorically stated that Guyana should have the power to influence how the oil companies spend the money and not only the power to audit what is already expended. In fact, the petroleum consultant said that Guyana should be able to do this for all oil companies. He noted that several opportunities still exist for this to happen. Paul said that the partnership arrangement he proposed is just one of the many ways Guyana could have a say on budgets and work programs. But the million-dollar question remains, according to him, is how badly do your leaders want it? In other news, Chairman of the Police Service Commission, Paul Slow, yesterday claimed that President Irfan Ali wanted to influence the annual year-end promotion of senior ranks in the Guyana Police Force. Slow, who is also a retired Assistant Commissioner of the force, made this claim during a press conference he held via Zoom. Ali has since denied Slow's allegations in a statement that was sent out a few hours after the press conference ended. The PSC's promotion list was placed on a temporary hold when the Chief Justice Roxanne George Wiltshire granted an order to halt the procedure on December 31st, 2020. This was after the senior superintendent, Calvin Brutus, who was reportedly overlooked by the PSC for promotion, had moved to the High Court to block the force's promotions until the decisions to not promote him is recanted. The order instructed that the current status quo in the GPF remain until the matter, which was filed to challenge the PSC's procedure for promotion, is heard. And now let's tell you towards the improvement of the region. Close to $1 billion in contracts were signed on Friday in the boardroom of the RDC situated at Vrijmans Erwin, New Amsterdam, Region 6. At the simple signing ceremony were Minister of Local Government and Regional Development Nigel Daramlal and regional officials. In addition to $4.4 million that was handed over to the Regional Health Service, a contract was signed with a new security firm that will provide services for the RDC and government buildings in the region. The minister asked the contractors to use the opportunity to hire laborers or skilled persons within the areas where the projects are being executed to provide employment. And moving on. After days of consistent rainfall, communities across Guyana have recorded cases of severe flooding. The Pomeroon area, which is located on the northern end of the Essequibo coast, has reportedly been hit the hardest in Region 2. Based on reports, both the upper level and lower Pomeroon have recorded unprecedented water levels over the past few days. The Pomeroon is a riverine area, which is accessible mainly by rivers and creeks. The area is also a major contributor to Guyana's agriculture sector, especially in coconut and ground provision production. According to residents living within the Pomeroon, water levels have reached 6 feet in some areas like Karo Wab. The losses reported have been extensive as farmers and homes of many residents are inundated. And on that note, let's tell you that popular media personality and chef Mondel Smith has died after being infected with COVID-19. His death was confirmed by officials of the Ministry of Health yesterday. The former journalist was last week admitted to the COVID-19 ICU after he developed serious complications as a result of the disease. Smith reportedly died while receiving treatment and is listed among the country's recent COVID-19 deaths. Smith, who was 44 at the time of his death, was known for his jovial and resilient persona. He was a former news anchor and a former journalist for several entities including Kaieteur News, and was even involved in the early days of Kaieteur Radio. The Guyana Press Association, in expressing condolences, remembered Smith for his versatility and love for journalism. And with that, you are listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. Coming up after the break, DPP wins appeal over Marcus Bisram, former murder accused likely to face charges again, and Region 4 SOPs handed over to police. Meanwhile, CDC urges Region 7 residents to move to higher grounds. Do stay tuned.
This is GHK Lal inviting you.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. The Court of Appeal yesterday dismissed a cross appeal by former murder accused Marcus Bisram and handed down a ruling in favor of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Shalimar Ali Haq, which is likely to see Bisram face fresh proceedings for the murder of Berbice carpenter Fayaz Narindat. Following a hearing on the matter in February, the appeal court had reserved its ruling as it relates to the murder charges being reinstituted on the discharged Guyanese U.S. businessman and philanthropist. Bisram, who was extradited from the U.S. to face charges for the 2016 crime, has faced a preliminary trial in the Magistrates Court. Magistrate Renita Singh, after a preliminary inquiry, had ruled that there was insufficient evidence to send him to the High Court for trial. In other news, the controversial Region 4 statements of poll and the March 2020 general and regional elections were yesterday handed over to the investigators at the Guyana Police Force's Criminal Investigations Department at Ivlery in Georgetown. This was confirmed by Crime Chief Wendell Blanham. The handing over of the SOPs comes days after the crime chief, that should be the Chief Justice, Roxanne George Wiltshire, ordered the Supreme Court's Registrar, Suwana Lovell, to release certified copies of the SOPs and SORs for a police investigation into election fraud cases currently being prosecuted. These documents were being kept by Lovell after the Chief Justice had ordered that they be released to her for safekeeping, following the dismissal of the first election petition case filed by the opposition. In other news, the Civil Defense Commission, in a notice yesterday, urged residents along the Cuyuni-Mazaruni rivers in Region 7 to move to higher grounds since they anticipate mudslides and more rainfalls. For the past several days, multiple parts of Guyana have been experiencing severe flooding. The CDC, in its notice, said that the National Weather Watch Center predicts that conditions in Region 7 will likely lead to continuous flooding of areas already underwater. Residents were moreover urged to take the necessary precautions to safeguard life and property against flooding, heavy winds, and mudslides. Mayor of Bartica, Gifford Marshall, along with members from the Bartica Council, have been on the ground monitoring the situation and delivering flood relief to affected residents. It is now 12 hours 19, time for a COVID-19 update. According to Worldometer, the number of worldwide coronavirus cases has reached 171.5 million, with deaths at 3.5 million and recovery cases at 153.9 million. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry yesterday announced that 4 more persons who tested positive for COVID-19 have died. Their deaths have now increased Guyana's COVID-19 death toll to 389. 42 new infections were also recorded, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 16,952. 23 patients are in the COVID-19 ICU, 102 persons are in institutional isolation, 1,916 in home isolation, and 9 are quarantined institutionally. To date, 14,522 recoveries have been recorded. And before we wrap things up for today's News at Noon, let's head over to the page 7, dedicated to being blunt. Fellow Guyanese, we are all losing $1 million every month that goes by with this oppressive Exxon contract. We have no full coverage insurance from the oil people. Furthermore, this country does not know the interest rate we are paying on the $20 billion loans for Liza 1, 2, and Payara, and we do not even know how much they are taking out for cleanup cost. This contract is worse than any oil contract in the last 100 years. It must be noted, however, that the contract allows for renegotiation, but our leaders, all of them, are not in favor of renegotiation. We need that contract to be renegotiated. We cannot sit back and allow this contract to throw us back into slavery or have us continue to look like beggars to the world. But we cannot win this fight in isolation. We all have to do our part to demand that the contract is renegotiated. Moreover, Glenn Lal, publisher of the Kaieteur News, is calling you out of your homes and offices or wherever you are at 9 a.m. tomorrow to gaffe only for 5 minutes with your neighbors, friends, and colleagues about the renegotiation of the contract. Drivers can also toot their horns from 9 hours to 9:05 hours in support. You can snap a few photos and post them to social media and even send a few to his WhatsApp 624-6456 so that the world can know and see that together we are demanding the renegotiation of the Exxon contract. Let's continue to do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday until we overcome. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.